Imagine sinking effortlessly beneath a glassy mirrored surface, where the harsh, glaring light of the world above instantly softens into a tranquil, infinite and embracing blue. The water is perfectly warm, a liquid velvet blanket that supports your weight completely, leaving you feeling entirely weightless, untethered from gravity and care. As you drift downward in this gentle, cradling suspension, columns of sunlight pierce the surface, dancing like ethereal golden ribbons through the sapphire depths. Down below, a sprawling, vibrant metropolis gradually emerges from the sandy ocean floor. It is a city not of cold stone and rigid steel, but of living breath and brilliant, highly saturated colour. Electric magentas, deep indigo blues, and radiant yellows sway and pulse in the slow, rhythmic breath of the oceanic tide. Schools of silver fish sweep past like synchronized shooting stars in a liquid cosmos, leaving invisible trails of shimmering energy in their wake. The world here operates on a fundamentally different clock. Time slows down. Lulls your waking mind. As you float in lulls your waking mind, as you float in this boundless, peaceful blue environment, let go of any need to hold on to the details. You do not need to try to remember the things you will hear. Your subconscious mind is a vast, ancient library, much like the deep ocean itself, filled with endless space and perfect memory. It will naturally absorb these quiet truths, these beautiful secrets of the reef, while you simply rest. Just let go. Allow the gentle, steady current of my voice to carry you. There are no tests here, no expectations of you, and absolutely no effort required. You can simply exist in this space, breathing in perfect rhythm with the ocean's steady, eternal tide, while your mind effortlessly absorbs the profound wonder of the deep. Drift now. Let the muscles in your shoulders soften and melt. Let your breathing deepen, matching the slow in and out swell of the waves above. You are completely safe, securely held in this calm, silent expanse. We are about to glide, slow and weightless, through an ancient world, a masterpiece woven over millions of patient years. As we do, every word will simply wash over you, settling into the tranquil, undisturbed depths of your mind, forming a soothing, educational lullaby of the natural world. The intricate, towering castles of colour that lie peacefully below you are a marvel of nature's design. At first glance, they might seem like beautifully textured rocks, or perhaps strange, calcified underwater plants reaching for the sun. But they are, in fact, living, breathing creatures. The entire sprawling architecture of the coral reef is painstakingly built by millions of tiny, soft-bodied animals known as polyps. These miniature architects are related to jellyfish and sea anemones. Picture a tiny, delicate cylinder crowned with a ring of soft, waving tentacles. During the quiet hours of the night, when the ocean is bathed in the silvery light of the moon, these polyps emerge from their hard shelters. They stretch their translucent tentacles into the gentle current, swaying in unison, catching microscopic plankton that drifts by on the tide. It is a slow, elegant ballet of survival, a million tiny hands reaching out in the dark, gathering the nourishment they need to build their underwater empires, slowly, surely, and silently. Within the translucent, delicate tissue of these tiny, soft builders lives a magical, hidden garden. The polyps do not survive in this vast blue expanse alone. They have invited microscopic algae, known as zooxanthellae, to reside safely inside their very cells. In exchange for this secure, sunlit home, the algae perform a wondrous act of alchemy. Using the golden rays of sunlight that filter down through the crystal clear water, the algae photosynthesize, turning pure light into vital energy and rich sugars. They share this bountiful harvest with the coral polyp, providing up to 90% of the energy the coral needs to thrive and build. It is this beautiful microscopic partnership, this perfect balance of giving and receiving, that gives the coral its breathtaking, vibrant colours. Without these tiny golden brown algae, the coral would be pale and translucent. Together, they create a thriving, colourful oasis in the nutrient-poor deserts of the open ocean, a testament to the profound power of cooperation and harmony. To protect their soft, vulnerable bodies and these precious inner gardens, the polyps become masterful, patient stonemasons. With agonizingly slow precision, they pull invisible elements directly from the surrounding seawater. They extract dissolved calcium and carbonate ions, weaving them together to secrete a hard, protective limestone cup around themselves, called a calicle. As one generation of polyps gently passes away, their pristine white skeletons remain, providing a sturdy, permanent foundation for the next generation to settle upon. Layer by microscopic layer, year by quiet year, century by century, they build upward toward the sunlight. The massive branching antlers, the smooth, dome-like brain corals, and the delicate spreading fans are all the result of this incredibly slow, continuous process of calcification. They are building a limestone monument to life itself, an intricate, porous skeleton that provides a safe haven not just for themselves, but for countless other wandering souls of the sea. This microscopic masonry, when multiplied by billions of polyps over countless millennia, creates biological structures so massive, so profoundly vast, that they literally alter the geography of our blue planet. The most famous of these living monuments, the Great Barrier Reef, stretches along the sun-drenched coast of Australia. It is a colossal network of these living stones, spanning over 1,400 miles. It is so expansive, so monumentally large, that it transcends the boundaries of our atmosphere. If you were to float in the quiet, silent vacuum of space, looking down upon the swirling white clouds and the deep azure oceans of Earth, you could see this reef. It appears as a brilliant turquoise streak painted across the dark canvas of the sea, a vibrant scar of life visible from the heavens. It is the only living structure on Earth visible from such a magnificent distance, a quiet, breathtaking reminder of what tiny, patient and persistent efforts can build over the deep expanse of time. In the heart of this massive, sprawling architecture, there exists a perfectly synchronized rhythm, tied not to the sun, but to the soft silver glow of the moon and the gentle warming of the seasons. Once a year, usually a few days after a full moon, under the cover of a gentle moonlit night, the entire reef orchestrates a massive, silent symphony of life. It is an event of staggering, beautiful coordination. Entire colonies of coral, stretching for miles in every direction, simultaneously release tiny, perfectly round bundles of eggs and sperm into the water column. It looks like an enchanting underwater blizzard, but instead of white snow falling down, millions of soft pink, orange and white spheres slowly float upward toward the starlit surface. This mass spawning event ensures that a new generation will scatter on the ocean currents, drifting peacefully until they find a new, perfect spot to settle and begin the slow, magnificent process of building all over again. And while this romantic lunar dance happens in the warm, sunlit shallows, an entirely different, more mysterious world of coral exists far below, in the eternal, quiet midnight of the deep ocean. We gently sink away from the light, down into the cool, dark abyss, where sunlight has never and will never reach. Here, in the pitch black, cold water corals build towering, ghostly white cities on the sides of deep sea mounts and underwater canyons. Lacking the sunlight-harvesting algae of their shallow water cousins, these deep-sea architects rely entirely on their waving tentacles to catch the gentle, continuous rain of marine snow, tiny organic particles slowly falling from the world above. Because the water here is freezing and resources are scarce, they grow at a glacial pace, sometimes only a millimetre a year. Some of these deep-sea coral reefs have been growing continuously in the dark silence for over 40,000 years, making them some of the oldest continuous living ecosystems on our planet, silent witnesses to the slow turning of ages. Returning slowly from those freezing ancient depths back up to the sun-drenched, sparkling shallows, the reef reveals yet another hidden secret, a brilliant defense against the piercing, relentless rays of the tropical sun. Because shallow corals must live in clear water to allow sunlight to reach their algae, they are completely exposed to harmful ultraviolet radiation. To survive this daily solar assault, some corals possess a built-in, magical sunscreen. They produce special fluorescent proteins that absorb the damaging UV light and instantly re-emit it as a longer, harmless wavelength. If you were to swim over the reef at night with a special blue light, the entire seascape would erupt in a psychedelic display of glowing neon biofluorescence. Electric greens, glowing pinks, and deep, vibrant purples would shine against the dark water, a hidden, glowing aura that protects the delicate tissues of the coral, turning a harsh solar threat into an ethereal, glowing display of natural beauty. These glowing, complex, and intricate limestone cities are far more than just homes for the polyps themselves. They are the lush, bustling rainforests of the sea. Though coral reefs cover less than 1% of the entire ocean floor, they are the vital, beating heart of marine biodiversity. They provide sanctuary, nurseries, food, and life to a staggering 25% of all known marine species. In the complex, winding alleys and hidden, shadowy caverns of the limestone castles, countless creatures find refuge. Brilliant orange clownfish nestle deep within the swaying arms of anemones. Giant, graceful manta rays glide smoothly over the coral heads to be cleaned by tiny, diligent wrasses. Ancient sea turtles rest peacefully in the coral grottos. Every square inch of the reef is a bustling, interconnected web of life, a delicate, perfectly balanced ecosystem where every creature, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, plays a vital, irreplaceable role in the harmony of the whole. The long, majestic life cycle of such a vibrant reef is deeply, intimately entwined with the shifting, sinking earth beneath it. Over a century ago, the great naturalist Charles Darwin first realized the beautiful, poetic truth of how certain reefs, known as atolls, are formed. An atoll is a perfect, striking ring of turquoise, coral-filled water surrounding a deep central lagoon, often in the absolute middle of nowhere in the vast ocean. Darwin theorized, and time proved true, that these rings began their lives as fringes of coral growing around the edge of a newly born, towering volcanic island. Over millions of years, as the heavy volcano slowly eroded and sank back down into the ocean's crust, the coral stubbornly continued to grow upward, constantly reaching for the life-giving sunlight. Long after the volcanic island has completely vanished beneath the waves, the ring of coral remains, a living halo marking the exact footprint of a mountain that no longer exists, a beautiful testament to life's enduring persistence over geology. And if you were to float peacefully above this living halo, and somehow press your ear to the vibrant water, you would not hear the silent, empty void of the deep ocean. Instead, you would be immersed in a bustling, vibrant, and incredibly loud acoustic world. A healthy, thriving coral reef is anything but quiet. It crackles, snaps, and pops like a massive roaring campfire. This mesmerizing, continuous static is primarily the sound of thousands of tiny snapping shrimp, clicking their specialized claws to communicate and hunt. Beneath this crackling blanket, you can hear the low, rhythmic grunts of territorial fish, the scraping of parrotfish beaks chewing on the limestone, and the complex thumping choruses of marine life. This rich, underwater symphony is more than just noise. It is an acoustic beacon, broadcasting miles out into the open ocean, calling tiny, drifting coral larvae and young fish home to the safety of the reef. And as this gentle, crackling lullaby echoes through the water, it invites you too to let go, to sink deeper into relaxation, carried away by the ancient, soothing song of the sea. The continuous rhythmic crackling of the underwater acoustic beacon ripples outward, creating gentle, invisible waves of energy that wash softly against the living stonework. If you were to look very, very closely at the surface of this textured stone, leaning in until the world around you blurs into a peaceful blue, you would see that the coral is not bare. To protect their incredibly delicate bodies, the tiny soft polyps secrete a sheer, completely transparent veil, a silken cloak of invisible liquid. This slippery, yielding blanket drapes over the entire sprawling colony, acting as a microscopic, soothing shield against the rough, tumbling particles of the restless sea. When the ocean tide recedes, temporarily exposing the highest crests of the reef to the warm, drying air of the surface world, this soft, liquid armour keeps them perfectly moist and breathing. It holds the memory of the ocean close against their skin until the cool, comforting waters inevitably return. It is a flawless, yielding defence, gently capturing falling grit and softly sloughing it away, keeping the polyps utterly clean, pure and insulated within the moving water. The texture of this falling, captured grit draws our heavy gaze downward, slowly sinking toward the soft, pale dunes resting peacefully at the foot of the towering limestone castles. This brilliant, powdery white sand, looking so impossibly soft beneath imaginary weightless toes, holds a fascinating, ancient secret of transformation. It was, in another lifetime, solid, unyielding rock. Drifting with profound, effortless grace above the coral heads are the magnificent parrotfish, large, peaceful grazers painted in soft, pastel swathes of mint green, cotton candy pink, and bright cerulean blue. With their uniquely shaped bird-like beaks, they gently and methodically scrape the surface of the reef, consuming the soft algae and inadvertently taking in small fragments of the hard limestone skeleton. Deep within their warm, gliding bodies, this rigid, ancient stone is carefully ground down, polished smooth, and returned to the quiet sea as a fine, powdery snow. The very beaches of tropical islands, the soft, sun-warmed shores where waves gently lap and humans close their eyes to rest, are born entirely from this endless, quiet cycle of oceanic consumption and creation. And as this soothing cycle of transformation settles deeply into your mind, noticing how easily hard stone effortlessly becomes soft, yielding sand, your own breathing begins to naturally slow. You can feel any rigid, lingering thoughts within you being gently ground down into a soft, peaceful quiet. Your chest rises and falls with the heavy, eternal rhythm of the ocean, effortlessly, continuously, letting go of all resistance. The profound softness of the ocean floor contrasts beautifully with the absolute quiet permanence of the reef's inner core. Deep within the calcium carbonate skeletons of the massive brain corals and branching stags, time itself is recorded in total, undisturbed silence. Much like the concentric rings hidden safely beneath the rough bark of ancient towering forest trees, the corals patiently lay down perfectly ordered bands of growth. A dense, robust layer is formed in the warm, sunlit abundance of the tropical summer, followed by a thinner, more delicate layer in the cool, quiet retreat of the winter. These alternating bands, completely invisible from the outside world, form a perfect, unbroken diary of the Earth's ancient climate, stretching back through the silent centuries. They remember the exact temperature of the water from 100 years ago. They hold the quiet memory of heavy monsoon rains and ancient forgotten storms, locked away in perfect dark preservation, holding the deep history of our world in a tight, unending embrace. Echoing this deeply rooted ancient permanence, yet moving with a profound, almost hypnotic grace, are the gorgonians, the beautiful, branching sea fans. While the stony corals dedicate their lives to building rigid, unmoving fortresses, the sea fans have learned the ancient, watery wisdom of yielding. Woven entirely from a flexible, horn-like protein, their delicate, incredibly intricate lacy branches spread wide, catching the shimmering sunlit currents like vast underwater sails catching a gentle breeze. They are vividly painted in deep, velvety purples, vibrant crimson reds, and soft, glowing oranges. When the massive ocean swells, pushing with immense, invisible weight against the reef, the sea fans do not fight. They do not resist. They simply bow. They bend gracefully in perfect, unified rhythm with the moving water, engaging in a hypnotic, sweeping dance that teaches the quiet, profound power of simply letting go and allowing the heavy world to flow smoothly around you. The water that continuously flows through these swaying, yielding fans is impossibly, breathtakingly clear, resembling a liquid crystalline sapphire. This stunning optical clarity is a quiet, continuous gift from the oldest, most unassuming residents of the entire reef ecosystem, the ancient sea sponges. Resembling beautifully textured hollow vases, sprawling colourful tubes and soft bulbous cushions, these simple, deeply ancient creatures act as the silent, breathing lungs of the reef. They possess no complex nervous system to feel stress, no beating heart to race, and absolutely no wandering, anxious thoughts. They simply exist in the present moment, drawing water slowly in through thousands of microscopic pores, gently filtering out tiny impurities, and softly exhaling pure, polished water back into the drifting current. A single, large barrel sponge can peacefully, tirelessly filter thousands of gallons of water in a single quiet day, continuously polishing the liquid sky of the underwater world until it is perfectly, flawlessly clear. Notice how, with every slow, deep breath you take, the air filling your lungs feels just as pure, just as deeply cleansing. As the ancient sponges gently filter the ocean water, your subconscious mind naturally filters out the chaotic noise and static of the waking day, leaving only a clear, vast and tranquil stillness behind. You're drifting deeper into this calm, clear space, sinking softly, weightlessly into the endless blue. While the water remains impeccably clear, the bright, sparkling light inevitably begins to soften and fade as we drift slowly away from the sun-dappled shallows. We begin a slow, weightless descent down the steep, majestic drop-off of the outer reef wall. The vibrant magentas and bright, startling yellows gradually dissolve into a hushed world of rich, velvet indigos, deep navy blues, and soft, glowing violets. This is the mesophotic zone, the mysterious, deeply peaceful twilight realm of the coral world. Here, where the harsh, glaring light of the sun is reduced to a distant, faded memory, the corals change their ancient strategy. They grow outward instead of upward. They form massive, flat, incredibly wide, plate-like structures, hovering in the dim blue gloom like silent, suspended clouds. They spread their delicate surfaces as wide as physically possible to capture the final, faint, whispering rays of sunlight filtering down from the distant surface. It is a hushed, sacred underwater cathedral of long, stretching shadows and incredibly slow, deliberate, unhurried growth. In this quiet blue twilight, where time itself seems completely suspended in the cold water, the ancient struggle for space continues, but at a pace so incredibly, profoundly slow that it looks exactly like absolute stillness. Corals, despite their entirely serene and peaceful appearance, are fierce, quiet defenders of their chosen territory. When two different spreading colonies grow too close, their edges lightly touching the borders of their personal space, they do not rush to react. Under the dark, concealing cover of the underwater night, they slowly, almost imperceptibly, extend translucent, string-like threads from their central stomachs, known to science as mesenterial filaments. It is a microscopic, utterly silent duel executed in extreme, agonizing slow motion. This quiet pushing back and forth takes weeks, sometimes entirely long months to resolve. a slow, invisible shifting of borders that defines the architecture of the deep without ever disturbing the absolute quiet peace of the surrounding water. Yet perfectly nestled alongside this slow-motion, silent defence, there exists a profound, deeply touching layer of protection and care. Tucked safely deep within the intricate branching arms of certain shallow water corals, entirely shielded from the sweeping heavy ocean currents, live tiny, beautifully patterned creatures known as guard crabs. These diminutive, dedicated sentinels, completely smooth and no larger than a small silver coin, spend their entire quiet lives in the safe, enclosing embrace of a single coral host. In beautiful balanced return for the safe hidden harbour and the sweet nutrient-rich mucus the coral freely provides, the little crabs fiercely, bravely protect their living, breathing home. If a slow-moving, spiky predator approaches through the blue to feast on the delicate coral polyps, these brave, tiny guardians will rush fearlessly to the very edge of the outer branches, pinching and pushing the heavy intruder away. They stand perpetual watch in the silent deep, ensuring their sanctuary remains eternally perfectly safe and entirely undisturbed. You too have a deep, impenetrable sanctuary. Your inner mind is a protected, quiet harbour, perfectly guarded against the rushing currents and heavy stresses of the waking world. You're completely safe here, wrapped warmly in the ancient, slow rhythms of the deep ocean. Let your heavy thoughts drift away, completely secure, completely at peace, sinking further down. Drifting gently outward from these safe, fiercely guarded branches, we find the microscopic floating travellers of the vast sea. When the great synchronized lunar spawning finally occurs, releasing the next generation into the water column, the newly formed coral larvae, known as planulae, begin their long, hypnotic and totally unpredictable journey. They are incredibly, beautifully small, resembling tiny flattened ovals of glowing, translucent light. They cannot possibly swim against the mighty, sweeping ocean currents. Instead, their entire soft bodies are covered in thousands of microscopic, fine, waving hairs called cilia. These tiny, delicate hairs ripple and beat in a continuous, mesmerizing, synchronized rhythm, allowing the little larvae to gently steer and orient themselves as they are carried far away into the vast, open, dark ocean. They drift exactly like living stardust floating through a heavy, liquid cosmos, embarking on a blind journey of pure hope and infinite patience, simply waiting for the perfect, quiet, welcoming rock upon which to eventually settle and begin the world anew. The long drifting journey of the planulae completes the great ancient circle of the reef's life, a perfect, unbroken circle that necessarily includes both the tireless builders and the slow-moving essential forces of change. Gliding silently over the established colourful coral heads is a creature of striking, intimidating yet vital beauty, the crown of thorns starfish. Covered entirely in long, venomous, defensive spines, it moves with a deliberate, agonizingly slow and heavy grace across the textured seafloor. It is not an invader, but a deeply natural, necessary part of this ancient, balanced ecosystem. It acts as a slow-moving, clearing shadow that grazes selectively on the fastest-growing, most dominant corals. By gently, slowly clearing away space on the crowded reef, this magnificent thorny wanderer opens up the living canvas of the limestone city. It ensures that the tiny drifting planulae always have a fresh, open place to land and grow, guaranteeing that the underwater city is always renewing, always changing, and forever maintaining its beautiful, delicate, and deeply peaceful balance. This delicate, deeply peaceful balance leaves open spaces of pure, untouched white sand, and resting heavily within these quiet, sun-dappled clearings are the ancient, silent sentinels of the reef. Imagine a creature so impossibly vast, so incredibly old, that its scalloped, heavy shell resembles a sunken, calcified chest of forgotten treasure. This is the giant clam, a magnificent, slow-breathing monument to immense patience. As the warm, golden sunlight filters down through the liquid sapphire of the water, it illuminates the clam's massive fleshy mantle, which is spread wide to catch the day. This soft, yielding tissue is a masterpiece of living, breathing art, painted in deep, iridescent velvet blues, electric emerald greens, and shimmering metallic golds. Just like the tiny coral polyps, the giant clam has invited millions of microscopic golden brown algae to live safely within its soft, glowing folds. It rests there, entirely immovable and perfectly content, filtering the clear, cool water and drinking the pure, liquid sunlight, growing heavier, more grounded, and more incredibly beautiful with each passing silent century. The texture of this iridescent sunlit velvet slowly changes as the great burning star above begins its long, heavy descent toward the distant horizon. The harsh, glaring light of the tropical afternoon softens, melting into a bruised, beautiful twilight of lavender and rose. In this quiet, shifting boundary between day and night, a hidden, incredibly shy resident begins its nightly, hypnotic waltz. Hidden deep within the branching, protective arms of the coral, the mandarin fish waits for the perfect shadowy moment. It is a tiny, impossibly beautiful creature, adorned in swirling psychedelic patterns of bright tangerine, deep sapphire blue, and brilliant turquoise. As the water darkens, male and female perfectly align their delicate fins, rising slowly side by side into the cooling water column. They flutter upward in a delicate, mesmerizing spiral, their vibrant colors flashing in the dimming light, an underwater ballet of pure instinctive connection that lasts only for a few breathtaking seconds before they gently flutter back down into the absolute safety of the dark stone labyrinth. As the final, whispering echoes of the sun dissolve completely into the heavy, deep blue of the oceanic night, a new, entirely different constellation of stars begins to awaken beneath the waves. The water itself seems to hold a secret, glowing memory of the light it absorbed all day. When the gentle, rhythmic swell of the tide brushes against the reef, millions of microscopic, single-celled organisms called dinoflagellates are gently disturbed. In response to this soft, liquid touch, they emit a sudden, brilliant spark of cold, bioluminescent light. If you were to wave your hands smoothly through this dark, velvety water, you would leave a swirling, glowing trail of electric, neon blue fire in your wake. The entire ocean becomes a vast, liquid galaxy, sparkling and pulsing with tiny living stars, transforming the heavy darkness into a magical, glowing dreamscape, where light is born not from fire, but from the gentle, peaceful movement of life itself. And as you watch this glowing liquid starlight gently fade and reappear with the endless rhythm of the waves, your own mind begins to mirror its quiet, pulsing peace. You can feel the heavy, unnecessary thoughts of the waking day slowly dissolving, replaced by a soft, glowing calm. Your breathing deepens, matching the slow, gentle swell of the illuminated tide, sinking deeper and deeper into the comforting, starry dark. Out of this comforting, starry darkness, tiny, incredibly delicate shapes emerge as the morning sun begins to slowly, gently paint the water with soft strokes of pale gold. Embedded directly into the solid, unyielding stone of the massive brain corals are the most whimsical, magical creatures of the shallow reef. They are known, quite fittingly, as Christmas tree worms. They do not look like worms at all, but rather like perfect, miniature, spiraling pine trees made of the finest, softest feathers. They bloom from the hard rock in vibrant, startling shades of canary yellow, bright candy apple red, and deep, royal blue. These twin, feathery spirals are entirely designed to catch microscopic food drifting on the gentle current, but they are incredibly, profoundly sensitive. At the absolute slightest shift in water pressure, the mere passing shadow of a floating cloud, they vanish. In a fraction of a heartbeat, faster than the eye can follow, they retract their entire beautiful feathery crowns completely down into their tiny protective limestone tubes, leaving only bare stone behind. A magical vanishing act that teaches the beautiful safety of retreating when the world feels too heavy. The sudden, vanishing stillness of the feathery worms is beautifully contrasted by the fluid, hypnotic and endlessly shifting presence hovering just above the sandy sea floor. Moving with a smooth, alien grace, propelled by a gentle, rippling skirt of delicate fin, is the broadclub cuttlefish. It is a master of profound, deeply mesmerizing illusion. It does not simply change its colour, it changes the very texture and meaning of its skin to perfectly match the mood of the water around it. Deep within its soft, yielding skin are millions of tiny, pigment-filled sacs that can expand and contract with the speed of a passing thought. As it hovers peacefully over the textured coral, it can instantly raise physical bumps on its skin to perfectly mimic the rough, stony texture of the reef, while simultaneously sending rhythmic, strobing bands of darkened light pulsing across its back like moving shadows on the ocean floor. It is a living, breathing dream, a creature of pure, fluid imagination that effortlessly blends into the absolute quiet of its surroundings, disappearing entirely into the peaceful background. This quiet, yielding surrender to the surrounding environment leads us to a specific, sacred location on the reef, a place where all the usual frantic rules of the wild ocean are completely, entirely suspended. This is the cleaning station, a designated, peaceful sanctuary built on mutual trust and deeply ingrained instinct. Hovering massive and completely still in the gentle flowing current is a giant manta ray, a creature with a wingspan as wide as a small airplane. Yet, despite its profound, heavy size, it is incredibly gentle. It hangs suspended in the blue, entirely relaxed, entering a deep, almost trance-like state. From the tiny hidden crevices of the coral, schools of small, brightly striped cleanorasses swim out fearlessly. They flutter around the massive ray, gently picking away tiny parasites and dead skin, even swimming safely inside the giant open gills. For these few quiet moments, the heavy predator and the tiny prey exist in perfect, harmonious peace, sharing a silent agreement of care and profound, soothing relief. Just as the great, soaring manta ray finds deep, profound relief in this quiet sanctuary, allowing itself to be cleansed and lightened, you too can allow the heavy burdens of your mind to be gently swept away. You do not need to hold on to them. Let them drift off into the current. Feel the soothing, cleansing peace washing over you, leaving you entirely weightless, entirely relaxed, completely at ease. The vibrant, striking colours of the tiny cleaner fish echo the brilliant, startling hues of another, much slower resident of the coral garden. Gliding at an agonizingly slow, deeply peaceful pace across the rough, textured surface of the reef is a creature that seems to have crawled straight out of a surreal, vivid dream. It is a nudibranch, a shellless marine snail, but it bears absolutely no resemblance to the dull grey snails of the waking surface world. They are painted in the most intense, saturated and impossible colours found anywhere in nature. Neon pinks dotted with electric blue, bright lemon yellows streaked with deep velvety black. Because they have softly discarded their heavy protective shells over millions of years of evolution, they have learned a deeply magical trick of survival. As they slowly graze on toxic, stinging sponges and anemones, they do not get hurt. Instead, they gently absorb those harsh toxins, storing them in their own soft, brightly coloured bodies, turning a dangerous poison into their own brilliant, glowing shield. They move through the dangerous world completely unafraid, wearing their stunning beauty as a vibrant, undeniable warning, entirely safe in their slow, unhurried journey. This invisible chemical magic, The deep, mysterious alchemy of the nudibranch hints at a much larger, completely unseen world of hidden medicine flowing continuously through the water. The reef is not just a physical structure of limestone and light, it is a vast, ancient and deeply complex underwater pharmacy. Because the soft corals, the beautiful swaying sea whips, and the ancient filtering sponges cannot uproot themselves and run away from danger, they have spent millions of quiet, uninterrupted years perfecting a silent chemical defense. They constantly release a slow, invisible and incredibly potent stream of complex compounds into the surrounding water. These silent chemical whispers hold profound, deeply soothing secrets. Scientists have discovered that these ancient underwater molecules hold the power to fight human diseases, to soothe heavy inflammation, and to heal deep, lingering wounds. The reef is constantly, quietly bleeding life-saving medicine into the heavy, salty sea, a vast, ancient wisdom held silently within the softest, most delicate tissues of the deep. As the heavy, salty tide slowly, inevitably begins to pull back, retreating toward the vast, open horizon, the shallowest, uppermost flats of the coral reef are gently exposed to the warm evening air. Most creatures frantically retreat to the deep, but one incredible, deeply patient animal simply waits. It is the epaulet shark, a small, beautifully patterned creature covered in soft, leopard-like spots. As the water drains away, leaving it completely stranded in tiny, isolated, sun-warmed pools, it does not panic. It does not thrash or struggle. Instead, it enters a profound, deeply peaceful state of suspended animation. It can literally slow its beating heart, shutting down non-essential functions to survive for hours in the heavy, oxygen-depleted warmth. And if it needs to move to a deeper pool, it uses its strong, muscular pectoral fins to literally walk across the exposed dry coral rock. It is a creature of absolute, incredible endurance, a slow, methodical survivor that teaches the quiet power of holding still, of simply breathing slow and waiting peacefully for the deep, comforting waters to inevitably return. Notice how beautifully this quiet endurance mirrors your own restful state. When the tide of your energy ebbs, you too can simply slow down. You can rest in the quiet shallows of your mind, knowing with absolute quiet certainty that the deep, refreshing waters of sleep are flowing back toward you, covering you, lifting you into total, weightless peace. With the gentle, rhythmic return of the rising tide, the deep, cool water floods back over the sun-warmed flats, bringing with it an ancient, heavy traveller returning from the vast, endless blue of the open ocean. Gliding in with incredibly slow, sweeping and majestic beats of its massive wing-like flippers is the great green sea turtle. Its heavy, beautifully patterned shell is a map of 1,000 long, silent journeys across the globe. This magnificent, deeply ancient soul does not wander aimlessly. Embedded deep within its quiet, slow-beating brain is a profound, mysterious connection to the very earth itself. The turtle can literally feel the invisible magnetic lines of the planet's core pulling and shifting through the water. After decades of wandering the vast, featureless expanse of the deep sea, this invisible magnetic music gently guides the turtle back across thousands of miles of heavy dark water to the exact specific coral reef where it was born. It is a perfectly guided homecoming, a slow, deeply satisfying return to the safe, familiar, and eternal embrace of the ancient singing stone. The continuous rhythmic crackling of the underwater acoustic beacon ripples outward, creating gentle, invisible waves of energy that wash softly against the living stonework. This invisible, magnetic music resonating through the heavy, ancient shell of the resting turtle is just one single, resonant note in a vast, silent symphony of energy that flows continuously through the liquid space of the reef. If you were to somehow close your eyes and tune your senses to the very electricity of life, the water would light up with a soft, pulsing aura. Gliding effortlessly through this unseen energetic field is the sleek grey silhouette of a reef shark. It moves with a slow, hypnotic sweep of its powerful tail, navigating not just by sight or smell, but by feeling the literal electric heartbeat of the ocean. Dotted across the very tip of its smooth snout are hundreds of tiny jelly-filled pores, deeply sensitive receptors known as the ampullae of Lorenzini. These microscopic, liquid-filled canals act as deeply tuned antennas, allowing the shark to sense the minute, incredibly faint electrical signals produced by the simple, muscle contractions of hidden fish. It is a profoundly quiet sixth sense, an absolute peaceful knowing that allows the guardian of the reef to glide through the darkening blue with perfect, effortless awareness. The texture of this deeply spread, quiet awareness mirrors the very mind of the coral reef itself. When we look at the sprawling, massive colonies of brain coral, or the towering, intricate stags, we might wonder where the brain of this living city resides. But the beautiful, soothing truth is that the coral possesses absolutely no central mind, no heavy, overthinking brain to harbour worry or stress. Instead, it relies on a delicate, incredibly simple nerve net. This decentralized web of sensation is spread evenly and perfectly across the entire massive colony. If a single, tiny polyp on the farthest edge of a sprawling branch is gently brushed by a passing current, that soft sensation ripples outward, a slow, whispering cascade of awareness passing peacefully from neighbour to neighbour. It is a community of feeling, a slow, shared consciousness that responds to the heavy, moving world with a unified, deeply peaceful grace, completely devoid of anxiety or anticipation. This complete, peaceful surrender to the surrounding environment leads us to a tiny, almost invisible resident who has taken the concept of belonging to an absolute, breathtaking extreme. Floating exactly like a tiny, forgotten piece of drifting weed, the Barjabant's pygmy seahorse is a masterclass in slow, perfect adaptation. It measures no larger than a single grain of rice, and it spends its entire quiet life clinging softly to the branches of a single, brightly coloured Gorgonian sea fan. But it does not simply hide, it physically becomes the coral. Over generations of slow, unbroken peace, the seahorse has evolved to mirror the exact specific colour of its host, whether it be a vibrant velvety purple or a deep, warm orange. More remarkably, its tiny, delicate body is covered in bulbous, calcium-rich tubercles that flawlessly, perfectly mimic the closed polyps of the sea fan. It is a creature born of pure camouflage, a living, breathing extension of the reef itself, resting entirely unseen and utterly safe in the heart of the swaying coral branches. And as you visualize this perfect, seamless blending into the peaceful background, you too can feel yourself blending smoothly into the quiet comfort of your resting place. There is no need to stand out, no need to remain separate or tense. You can simply yield, matching the slow, heavy rhythm of the ocean, letting your body become entirely soft, perfectly supported, and completely relaxed. Echoing this quiet safety hidden within the intricate architecture of the reef, millions of delicate, reaching arms wait patiently in the deepest, darkest crevices of the limestone city. As the heavy curtain of the oceanic night falls, the brittle stars finally begin to uncoil from their tight daytime slumber. Unlike their thick-armed, slow-moving starfish cousins, the brittle stars possess incredibly long, thin, and beautifully fragile appendages, resembling living, serpentine threads of spun glass and intricate painted bone. They do not walk out into the open water. Instead, they remain safely anchored deep within the narrow protective cracks of the stone, extending only their delicate, feathery arms outward into the moving blackness. They wave these long, sensitive threads in the gentle passing currents, blindly and peacefully snagging tiny, drifting particles of marine snow. It is a slow, methodical combing of the night sea, a quiet harvest conducted from the absolute safety of the unyielding rock. The deep shadowy crevices that harbour these fragile sweeping arms also serve as the resting place for much larger, seemingly solitary wanderers of the reef. Resting heavily in a dark coral cave, its thick muscular body coiled like a heavy sleeping serpent, is the moray eel. With its mouth continuously opening and closing to push oxygen-rich water over its gills, it appears fierce, yet it is merely breathing in the quiet rhythm of the deep. But the eel is not always a solitary hidden shadow. In a profound, deeply intelligent display of underwater cooperation, the moray eel sometimes forms a deliberate communicating partnership with the roaming grouper fish. When a grouper chases a smaller fish into a tight, inaccessible crack in the coral, it does not simply give up. It swims to the resting place of the moray eel and performs a specific shimmying dance, a silent cross-species language asking for help. The eel, understanding this quiet request, slithers out from the dark, using its flexible, heavy body to flush the prey out of the tight spaces, allowing both predators to share in the bounty. It is a beautiful, deeply ancient alliance, proving that even in the vast, wild ocean, there is profound communication and peaceful cooperation. This quiet language of mutual support flows seamlessly down into the soft, white, sandy borders of the coral city, where another, even more intimate partnership unfolds in the gentle, shifting dunes. Here, the water is filled with the constant, soft sound of excavation. A tiny, industrious pistol shrimp, completely blind and incredibly vulnerable, works tirelessly to dig a deep, safe burrow in the loose white sand. But because it cannot see the approaching shadows of the deep, it relies entirely on a dedicated, watchful companion, the brightly coloured watchman goby. The goby sits perfectly still at the entrance of the burrow, its large, observant eyes scanning the blue water. The blind shrimp, while pushing heavy loads of sand to the surface, always keeps one of its long, delicate antennae resting gently against the soft fin of the goby. If the goby sees a shadow, it performs a subtle, instantly communicated flick of its fin. This tiny, tactile warning sends both creatures darting instantly back into the absolute safety of the dark, sandy earth. It is a life built entirely on touch, a profound, unbroken bond of trust that ensures perfect mutual survival in the open spaces of the sea. Notice how deeply comforting it is to be perfectly guided and watched over. Just like the blind, resting shrimp relying on the gentle touch of its companion, you can trust in the deep, ancient wisdom of your own body to guide you safely into sleep. You do not need to keep watch anymore. The heavy work of the day is done. You can let go of the vigil, sinking down into the soft, dark comfort of absolute rest. The soft, yielding texture of the sandy sea floor, constantly shifted and rebuilt by these tiny, industrious lives, is not only made of broken animal shells and ground-up coral rock. Scattered across the bright sunlit patches of the sand are vibrant, bright green patches of what appears to be ordinary seaweed. But this is Halimeda, a deeply deceptive, incredibly important organism known as a calcareous alga. While it looks like a soft, pliable plant, swaying gently in the shallow, warm currents, it is actually a masterful, quiet builder of stone. Just like the tiny coral polyps, the Halimeda algae pulls dissolved calcium from the surrounding ocean water, depositing it directly into its own living tissues. When these green, segmented leaves eventually complete their slow, peaceful life cycle and gently break apart, they do not rot away. They crumble into pure white limestone flakes, constantly, silently replenishing the soft, snowy dunes of the ocean floor. It is a plant that literally builds the very earth beneath it, a quiet, continuous act of creation that turns ephemeral, green life into ancient, lasting stone. While the green, stone-building algae works silently in the bright, sun-dappled shallows, drawing its energy from the pure, descending light, other deeply ancient creatures focus their entirely peaceful existence on the microscopic, invisible world suspended within the water itself. Returning our heavy, slow gaze to the towering, colourful sea sponges that act as the breathing lungs of the reef, we can peer deep into their hidden, labyrinthine hearts. The inner walls of these quiet, filtering vases are lined with millions of microscopic specialised cells called chonocytes, or collar cells. Each individual, tiny cell possesses a single, incredibly delicate whip-like tail called a flagellum. In perfect, unified, and mesmerizing synchrony, millions of these tiny invisible tails beat back and forth, creating a continuous, powerful microcurrent. This gentle, collective heartbeat draws the heavy ocean water through the sponge's porous body, catching infinitesimally small particles of food in delicate, sticky collars. It is a masterpiece of collective cellular harmony, millions of tiny living threads weaving a continuous breathing flow that sustains the giant, motionless creature without a single anxious thought. The gentle, drawing current created by these microscopic beating tails reminds us of the largest, most profound movement of life on our entire planet, an event that washes over the coral reef every single, quiet night. As the heavy golden sun finally sinks completely below the vast horizon, casting the ocean into deep, velvety shadow, a massive, silent migration begins in the freezing, crushing depths of the open sea. Trillions of microscopic animals, tiny translucent crustaceans and delicate drifting zooplankton begin a long, slow, vertical ascent. They're escaping the dark, cold abyss, rising like a reverse snowfall up toward the starlit surface to feed under the protective cover of the deep ocean night. This massive, upward-moving cloud of life, known as the deep scattering layer, washes over the sleeping coral reef like a rich, nourishing liquid fog. The waiting, open polyps of the coral spread their soft tentacles wide, effortlessly catching this rising bounty. It is a massive planetary breath, a nightly offering from the deep, dark unknown to the brightly coloured cities of the shallows, proving that in the vast interconnected world of the ocean, every quiet depth perfectly, beautifully sustains the light. As this nourishing liquid fog of microscopic life gently rises from the freezing, crushing cold of the abyss, the reef responds by slowly unfurling its most ancient, delicate appendages. Hidden deep within the shaded, narrow crevices during the glaring brightness of the tropical day, the crinoids, beautifully known as feather stars, sense the subtle, shifting weight of the darkening water. They are living fossils, magnificent, breathing relics of an ocean that existed hundreds of millions of years before the very first dinosaur walked the earth. As the rich, ascending plankton fills the water, the feather stars slowly unroll their long, deeply fragile arms. These arms are lined with thousands of tiny, sticky side branches called pinnules, resembling the softest, most vibrant ferns painted in striking shades of gold, deep crimson, and midnight black. They do not hunt or chase. They simply reach out into the blackness, acting as living, breathing sieves, catching the falling stars of the ocean in a profound display of ancient, effortless reception. The soft, effortless capture of this drifting midnight bounty takes many deeply fascinating, almost invisible forms across the quiet stonework. While the feather stars reach out with physical branching arms, some species of deep-dwelling coral employ a much softer, more ethereal strategy. They gently exhale a web, a delicate, utterly transparent net of sticky, complex mucus. This silken, liquid veil is cast out into the slow-moving current, hovering like a ghost over the rigid limestone polyps. It is an invisible net catching the microscopic falling rain of organic matter that constantly drifts down from the world above. When the soft, invisible threads are heavy and thick with this captured nourishment, the tiny coral polyps slowly, methodically reel the silken net back into their hidden mouths. It is a cycle of incredibly slow, liquid harvesting, a quiet breathing in and breathing out of the very substance of the sea, asking for absolutely no frantic movement, only the deep patience to wait for what naturally falls. This slow, gentle exhalation of the soft coral is beautifully mirrored by the massive, silent exhalations of the ancient sea sponges resting heavily on the ocean floor. On certain, quiet nights, governed entirely by the mysterious shifting temperature of the water and the hidden cycles of the moon, these massive, porous vases engage in a mesmerizing, coordinated release. From their wide central openings, they suddenly pour forth thick, billowing clouds of reproductive cells into the dark water. It looks exactly like an underwater chimney, releasing a slow, rolling plume of pale white smoke. This biological mist rises and twists in the gentle currents, a massive, synchronized offering of life to the vast open ocean. It is an event of profound, quiet trust, releasing millions of tiny, living hopes into the massive, heavy blue, knowing with absolute certainty that the ocean itself will carry them exactly where they need to softly fall. And as this knowledge settles, your breathing slows. As you watch these soft white clouds drifting aimlessly in the heavy supporting blue, you can feel the thick, heavy clouds of your own mind beginning to disperse. The crowded thoughts of the waking day are simply drifting away on the current, thinning out, fading into the vast, quiet space of your resting mind. You're entirely safe here, sinking deeper into the absolute undisturbed calm. The slow settling of this underwater mist draws our heavy gaze downward, sinking softly back to the bright powdery white dunes that border the limestone castles. Resting here is a creature of absolute unhurried purpose, moving with a deeply soothing heavy grace. The sea cucumber. It is a thick, elongated and softly textured wanderer, looking like a resting moss-covered stone brought to slow, deliberate life. It possesses no eyes to see the dark and no brain to harbour worry. It is guided solely by a profound, ancient instinct to cleanse. As it inches heavily across the sand, it uses a ring of soft, branching, feathery tentacles around its mouth to continuously sweep the ocean floor. It swallows the sand entirely, digesting the tiny, fallen organic particles and leaving behind a trail of perfectly clean, purified and aerated white sand. It is the silent, tireless caretaker of the reef, proving that even the heaviest, slowest work can bring profound, beautiful purity to the world around it. Resting peacefully nearby on these perfectly purified dunes is a fortress of stunning, spiraling geometry, a heavy, armoured sanctuary built for a single, quiet life. This is the queen conch, a massive marine snail that carries an entire, incredibly intricate palace upon its back. The exterior of this heavy calcium shell is rough, textured, and covered in dull, protective spikes, perfectly blending into the sandy, rubble-strewn floor. But the opening, the wide, sweeping lip of the shell where the creature cautiously emerges, reveals a secret of breathtaking, luminous beauty. It is polished to an impossible, glass-like smoothness, painted in the most delicate, soft hues of glowing pink, pale peach, and creamy white. It looks as though the absolute softest colours of a fading tropical sunset have been permanently captured and frozen into solid, unyielding stone. A hidden sanctuary of profound, quiet beauty tucked safely away beneath a rough, heavily armoured exterior. The texture of this smooth internal pink leads us deep into the very microscopic structure of the shell itself, an architecture of shifting light and strong stone. The conch and many other shelled wanderers of the reef line their homes with nacre, beautifully known to the surface world as mother of pearl. This iridescent glowing substance is not poured like liquid glass. It is built with agonizingly slow, microscopic precision. The animal continuously secretes millions of microscopic hexagonal plates of hard aragonite crystal, laying them down like tiny, perfectly fitted bricks. Between each hard layer of crystal, it spreads a soft, incredibly thin layer of elastic protein, acting as a flexible mortar. This alternating microscopic structure of hard stone and soft-yielding protein is what gives the shell its incredible, unbreakable strength and its mesmerizing, shifting rainbow of colors. It is a masterpiece of biological engineering, bending the ocean's light and turning brittle stone into a glowing, impenetrable shield. And as this knowledge settles, your breathing slows. You can feel your own inner sanctuary growing just as strong, just as beautiful, and just as deeply peaceful. Layer by layer, breath by quiet breath, you're building a soft, protective space around your mind. The harsh edges of the world cannot reach you here. You're completely secure, completely at rest, folding softly inward. This beautiful, layered architecture of calcium is not always worn on the outside as a heavy, dragging shield. Moving silently, like a hovering, shifting ghost just above the resting conch, the cuttlefish holds its intricate stone entirely on the inside. Hidden deep within its soft, fluid, and endlessly changing body is a highly porous, deeply complex structure called a cuttlebone. It is not a true bone at all, but a brittle, chalky internal shell divided into hundreds of microscopic, perfectly formed chambers. As the cuttlefish decides to sink into the dark, resting depths, it floods these tiny chambers with liquid. When it wishes to rise, to hover weightlessly in the bright, sun-dappled shallows, it slowly pumps the liquid out, replacing it with a buoyant gas. It is a profound internal mastering of weight, allowing the creature to hang perfectly, effortlessly suspended in the heavy blue space, entirely free from the relentless pulling grasp of gravity. This internal mastering of gravity, this profound magical ability to float without the slightest trace of effort, is a quiet miracle shared by almost every colourful fish hovering peacefully over the coral heads. Tucked safely away beneath their bright, glittering scales and deep within their small bodies is a delicate, silvery organ known as a swim bladder. It is essentially a beautifully evolved internal balloon. By slowly, subconsciously transferring dissolved oxygen from their own bloodstream into this shimmering sac, they adjust their precise density to perfectly match the heavy water surrounding them. They achieve a state of pure, absolute neutral buoyancy. They do not have to tread water or fight to stay afloat. They simply exist, resting in the middle of the liquid column, as weightless and unburdened as a cloud hanging silently in a summer sky, completely surrendered to the soft, supporting embrace of the ocean. Finding this perfect, suspended balance in the liquid space allows for the most exquisite, mesmerizing forms of disguise to slowly evolve. Drifting peacefully at the colder, quiet edges of the reef's influence, where the towering coral gives way to swaying forests of seagrass, is a creature that has completely surrendered its form to the ocean's gentle rhythm. It is the leafy sea dragon, a delicate relative of the seahorse. It possesses absolutely no hard armor, no frantic speed, and no dangerous venom. Instead, its entire body is adorned with long, flowing, leaf-like appendages that perfectly, flawlessly mimic the texture and colour of drifting kelp. It moves with agonizing, beautiful slowness, relying entirely on the tiny, transparent fins on its neck and back to gently steer. When the heavy underwater surge pushes through the grass, the sea dragon does not swim against it. It simply sways, perfectly matching the hypnotic back-and-forth rhythm of the plants, disappearing completely into the gentle, yielding motion of the deep. The drifting golden leaves of the sea dragon smoothly mirror the vast wandering forest that occasionally float high above the deep, shadowed reef. Far above the towering limestone castles, at the very surface where the cool air meets the warm water, massive floating mats of sargassum seaweed sometimes drift quietly by. These heavy golden canopies are not securely attached to the earth. They are nomadic, wandering islands held afloat by millions of tiny gas-filled berries. As they pass slowly overhead, they cast wide, cooling and deeply dappled shadows down upon the vibrant, colourful metropolis below. The light filtering through this floating forest turns into soft, golden, shifting columns, dancing gracefully across the white sand and the hard, textured coral. It is a quiet reminder that the ocean is a place of endless, connected layers, where even the wandering, rootless shadows from above provide quiet, comforting shelter for the beautiful, ancient life resting peacefully below. The dappled, golden light filtering through the drifting sargassum above creates a rhythmic, flickering pattern on the seabed, much like the steady, slow blinking of an eye. Down here, within the intricate labyrinth of the limestone city, this shifting light reveals a master of slow, rhythmic transformation. The octopus, a soft-bodied sage of the reef, possesses a mind that is not confined to a single, central space. Its intelligence is a fluid, liquid thing, flowing effortlessly through its 8 gracefully tapering arms. Each limb contains its own cluster of neurons, a mini-brain that can touch, taste, and think independently of the whole. As it glides across the textured coral, its skin becomes a canvas for the surrounding world. Millions of specialized cells, known as chromatophores, expand and contract like tiny coloured lungs, instantly matching the exact shade of the sand, the speckled granite of a rock, or the vibrant mottled purple of a sea fan. It does not just hide, it dissolves into the ocean's very texture, a ghost of the reef that teaches us how to move through the world with absolute quiet fluidity. The texture of this liquid, shifting skin leads us to the very edges of the reef, where the vibrant colour begins to soften into a vast whispering meadow of green. These are the seagrass beds, the quiet terrestrial cousins of the deep that have returned to the sea. Unlike the algae that cling to the stone, seagrasses possess true roots that reach deep into the soft silken sediment. They are the silent anchors of the ocean floor, weaving a dense subterranean web that holds the very earth together against the pulling tides. Within these swaying emerald blades, a profound hidden work is being done in total silence. A single acre of seagrass can sequester carbon at a rate 30 times faster than a tropical rainforest on land. They are the ocean's quiet lungs, breathing in the heavy elements of the world and exhaling pure, life-giving oxygen into the warm, crystalline water. A reminder that even the softest, most humble grass holds the power to balance the entire planet. And as this knowledge settles, your breathing slows. You can feel your own roots reaching down into the soft comfort of your bed, anchoring you safely. Just like the seagrass, you are breathing in a slow, rhythmic cycle, releasing the heavy thoughts of the day and exhaling a pure, tranquil calm, drifting deeper and deeper still. The rhythmic, swaying motion of the emerald grass is mirrored by a creature that defies the very definition of plant and animal. Drifting at the edge of the meadow is the upside-down jellyfish, a tranquil being that has chosen a life of absolute unhurried inversion. Instead of pulsing through the open blue, it rests its soft, translucent bell against the warm, sandy floor, extending its frilly, cauliflower-like tentacles upward toward the sun. It has transformed itself into a living solar panel, hosting the same golden-brown algae that sustain the corals. By resting upside down in the shallow, sun-drenched flats, it allows the light to bathe its inner gardens, pulse by pulse, minute by quiet minute. It is a creature of pure, meditative stillness, finding its entire sustenance simply by staying exactly where it is, basking in the infinite golden glow of the water. Echoing this profound, sunlit stillness is a world of incredible, microscopic geometry hidden within the very sand that supports the resting jellyfish. Every handful of white reef sand is a treasure chest of ancient skeletal architecture. Mixed among the fragments of coral and shell are the tiny, abandoned homes of foraminifera, microscopic, single-celled organisms that build shells of exquisite, complex beauty. Some look like miniature, spiraling nautilus shells, Others resemble delicate translucent stars or perfectly formed microscopic pine cones. For millions of years, these tiny architects have lived and died in the sunlit shallows, their star-shaped skeletons slowly accumulating to form the very foundations of the islands and beaches we know. They are the minute, silver threads in the tapestry of time, proving that even the smallest, most invisible life leaves behind a legacy of perfect geometric grace. While the tiny stars of the sand remain motionless, the water above them is filled with a slow, magnificent pulse that feels like the very heartbeat of the ocean. Gliding through the blue with a grace that seems to slow time itself is the whale shark, the largest fish in the sea, a gentle giant that moves with the weight of a mountain and the lightness of a dream. Its massive velvet blue body is adorned with a unique celestial pattern of white spots and stripes, resembling a star map of a distant peaceful galaxy. Despite its colossal size, it feeds on the most microscopic of treasures, filtering tiny plankton through its massive cavernous mouth as it swims at a pace of barely 3 miles per hour. It is a traveller of immense distances, yet it moves with no hurry, no frantic purpose, simply drifting through the liquid space as a silent, spotted monument to the beauty of being large, gentle, and slow. Notice how your own body feels large and heavy now, much like the gentle shark. You are moving through the dark, quiet space of your room with that same unhurried grace. Every muscle is loosening, every fibre is softening. You are a magnificent, quiet presence, drifting effortlessly into the deep. This celestial spotted pattern on the giant shark is a visual echo of the shimmering metallic armour worn by the schools of silver fish that sweep across the reef like living clouds. The big-eye trevally, with their polished chrome-like scales, move in a state of perfect collective consciousness. They form what is known as a shimmering, a mesmerizing defense where thousands of fish turn in unison, catching the sunlight and reflecting it back in a blinding silver flash. To a predator, this is not 1,000 individual fish, but a single, massive, and confusing organism made of pure liquid light. They navigate by sensing the minute shifts in water pressure through a lateral line, a delicate, sensitive organ running down their sides that allows them to feel the heartbeat of their neighbour. It is a world of perfect, wordless connection, where the individual dissolves into the beauty of the whole, moving as one single silver breath. The texture of this collective silver breathing leads us back to the solid, ancient heart of the reef, where the most patient of all hunters waits in total stony silence. The stonefish, perhaps the most perfectly camouflaged creature in the ocean, does not have scales. Its skin is rough, mottled and encrusted with the same algae and grit that covers the surrounding rocks. It can sit perfectly motionless for days, becoming a literal part of the seafloor, its presence indistinguishable from a weathered piece of coral rubble. It is a master of the long wait, an ancient, unblinking observer that teaches us the power of absolute stillness. Even its breathing is so slow, so subtle, that not a single grain of sand is disturbed. It is the ultimate embodiment of the reef's silence, a creature that has mastered the art of being present without making a single sound. And as this knowledge settles, your breathing slows. Like the stonefish, you are finding the profound power in stillness. You do not need to move. You do not need to act. You are simply a part of the quiet landscape of your room, existing in a state of perfect, unmoving peace. This unmoving, stony silence is eventually broken by the most delicate, whimsical movement imaginable. Emerging from the tiny holes in the coral are the blue-striped pipefish, the slender, needle-like relatives of the seahorse. They move like flickering ribbons of neon light, their bodies so thin and graceful they seem to be made of the water itself. They are the cleaners of the hidden crevices, dancing around larger fish with a delicate, undulating motion. Their life is one of intricate, tiny details, picking microscopic parasites from the skin of a resting grouper, with a snout that acts like a precision surgical tool. They represent the delicate fine-tuning of the reef's health, the small, beautiful gestures that keep the massive ancient system in a state of perfect, vibrant equilibrium. The flickering neon blue of the pipefish is a signal that draws our gaze deeper into the specialized hidden roles that maintain the reef's eternal youth. Deep within the shadow of a massive brain coral, the neon goby sets up its tiny, glowing shop. These fish are so bright, so vibrantly blue, that they stand out even in the dimming light of the afternoon. They are the brave physicians of the deep, often venturing into the sharp, tooth-filled mouths of massive predators to perform their cleaning duties. There is a sacred, silent pact here. The predator remains perfectly still, holding its breath and its hunger, while the tiny goby works with fearless, diligent care. It is a moment of profound, cross-species trust, a reminder that even in the wild, there are spaces of total safety and mutual respect, where the small and the large meet in a quiet, life-giving harmony. This harmony is supported by the very chemistry of the water, a liquid balance that has remained unchanged for millions of years. Every drop of seawater surrounding the reef is a complex, mineral-rich soup, perfectly tuned to the needs of the living stone. The pH of the ocean is a delicate, alkaline embrace that allows the coral polyps to pull the invisible building blocks of limestone from the water. This chemical equilibrium is the silent foundation of everything we see: the vibrant colours, the towering structures, and the teeming life. It is a reminder that the reef is not just a collection of animals, but a single, giant, chemical masterpiece. A slow, liquid process of turning the ocean's minerals into the world's most beautiful architecture. A process that continues tonight and every night in the quiet, salt-scented dark. The slow, liquid process of turning the ocean's minerals into the world's most beautiful architecture is a work of immense patience. Yet within this masterwork of stone, there are areas that pulse with a deceptive sun-warmed glow. As you drift over a cluster of mustard yellow branching structures that look like delicate ginger roots frozen in the current, you are witnessing the fire coral. Despite its name and its rigid stony appearance, it is not a true coral, but a clever hydrozoan, a distant cousin to the drifting jellyfish. Its surface is impeccably smooth, almost velvety to the eye, painted in warm, earthy tones of ginger, ochre, and pale gold. But if you were to look through a microscopic lens, you would see thousands of nearly invisible, hair-like stingers standing at eternal attention. They form a protective, defensive aura around the colony, a stinging fire that keeps the curious at bay while the polyps beneath peacefully feed. It is a reminder that even in this tranquil paradise, there are boundaries of warmth and protection, a soft glow that warns the world to move with gentleness and respect. The texture of this defensive warmth leads us to the sharp, geometric shadows cast by the reef's most diligent nocturnal gardeners. Tucked into the deep, shaded crevices of the limestone walls, the long-spined sea urchins wait for the sun to descend. They look like fallen, obsidian stars, their incredibly long, needle-thin spines radiating outward in a perfect, mathematical sphere of jet-black armour. Between these formidable lances, a single, glowing eye of brilliant orange or deep violet pulses slowly, sensing the shifting light. These urchins are the mechanical guardians of the reef's purity. Under the silver cover of the moon, they emerge to graze upon the fast-growing algae that threaten to smother the delicate coral polyps. With their five-toothed complex mouths, an ancient structure known as Aristotle's lantern, they methodically scrape the stone clean, performing a rhythmic mechanical grooming that ensures the reef remains a vibrant, open canvas for new life to settle and breathe. While the urchins maintain the stone from below, a flash of electric colour announces the arrival of the reef's most precise surgical residents. Gliding with a swift, snapping motion of their fins are the surgeonfish, often called tangs. Their bodies are masterpieces of saturated colour, vivid powder blues, deep velvety blacks, and startling lemon yellows, but their name comes from a hidden, incredible feature located at the base of their tail. Tucked into a small, inconspicuous groove is a pair of razor-sharp, bone-like scalpels that can be deployed in a fraction of a second. These beautiful, vibrant fish are the specialized lawnmowers of the coral city. They move in large, colorful schools, sweeping across the reef heads and picking off the thin green films of algae with surgical precision. They are the keepers of the light, ensuring that the sun-loving corals are never overshadowed by the sprawling leafy greens of the sea. And as this knowledge of precision and care settles, your breathing slows. You can feel the small, unnecessary worries of your mind being grazed away, just as the surgeonfish cleans the stone. Your thoughts are becoming clear, vibrant, and perfectly balanced. You're floating in a space of total order and ancient harmony, sinking deeper into the blue. This harmony extends far beyond the physical stone, into the very air we breathe far above the surface. It is a profound, breathtaking truth that every second breath you take, no matter where you are on this earth, is a gift from the ocean. The vast interconnected network of coral reefs and the microscopic phytoplankton that surround them are the world's true primary lungs. Through the miraculous alchemy of photosynthesis, the tiny algae living inside the coral polyps breathe in the heavy carbon dioxide of our world and exhale a continuous invisible stream of pure life-giving oxygen. The reef is a massive underwater oxygen factory, a silent, pulsing engine that sustains life on every continent. Even as you rest here, thousands of miles from the nearest coast, you are connected to the reef by the very air in your lungs, a shared planetary breath that links your quiet room to the sun-drenched shallows of the tropical sea. The gentle, rhythmic exhaling of the reef leads us to a softer, more fluid embrace hidden among the hard, stony branches. Swaying in the current like a field of thick, succulent flowers are the sea anemones. They are the living flowers of the deep, but their petals are actually hundreds of soft, sticky tentacles filled with microscopic, venomous harpoons. To most of the ocean, this is a beautiful, deadly trap. But for the small, brightly striped clownfish, it is the safest home imaginable. Through a slow, careful process of acclimation, the clownfish develops a special, thick mucus coating that mimics the anemone's own chemical signature. The anemone no longer recognizes the fish as prey or intruder. It sees only itself. The fish finds a soft, swaying bed of absolute protection, while the anemone receives the gift of grooming and defense. It is a relationship of deep, intimate safety, a sticky kiss that creates a sanctuary of total peace in the heart of the wild. Echoing this sense of profound sanctuary are the deepest, most mysterious blue windows into the Earth's ancient past. Scattered throughout the coral platforms are blue holes, massive, perfectly circular underwater sinkholes that appear as dark indigo voids in a sea of turquoise. These are the cathedrals of the deep, ancient limestone caves formed during the ice ages when the sea levels were low. As you descend into their cool, still shadows, the sounds of the reef fade into an absolute sacred silence. The walls are lined with massive, dripping stalactites, frozen in stone thousands of years ago. These holes are the memory banks of the ocean, holding pockets of ancient water and the remains of creatures that lived in a world long forgotten. They are places of total, undisturbed stillness. Deep, dark wells of time that invite you to let go of the present and sink into the infinite quiet history of the world. Notice how your own mind feels like a calm, deep blue hole, a space of infinite depth and absolute quiet. You are descending slowly into this peaceful void, where the pressure of the world is replaced by a soft, weightless embrace. You are drifting into the deep memory of your own rest, sinking further and further down. While the blue holes hold the memory of time, the living coral polyps possess a sophisticated liquid language of their own. Corals do not have eyes, yet they see the world through a complex chemical sense of taste. Every polyp is covered in millions of chemoreceptors, allowing them to taste the subtle, shifting flavours of the ocean current. They can sense the approach of a predator by the chemicals it sheds into the water, and they can recognise their own kin through the invisible molecular scent of their neighbours. When a coral colony is stressed, it releases chemical signals that warn nearby colonies to bolster their defences. It is a silent, liquid conversation that flows continuously through the reef, a web of chemical whispers that ensures the entire city acts as a single, coordinated, and deeply aware organism. The water is not empty. It is a rich, meaningful medium of communication that binds all things together in a shared, liquid knowing. The texture of this liquid language leads us to the reef's most vital, silent service to the planet's climate. Coral reefs are the Earth's most effective carbon sinks. As the polyps pull calcium and carbonate from the water to build their hard skeletons, they're effectively locking away carbon for thousands of years. They turn the heavy, warming elements of the atmosphere into solid, beautiful stone. The massive limestone structures of the world's reefs are vast storehouses of sequestered carbon, acting as a natural buffer that keeps our world cool and balanced. The reef is not just a home for fish, it is a guardian of the global thermostat, a silent, stony filter that works tirelessly, day and night, to maintain the delicate chemical balance of our entire atmosphere. It is a work of planetary care, conducted in total, unhurried silence. This silent work of building and filtering allows some coral colonies to achieve a level of longevity that is almost impossible to comprehend. In the deep, quiet corners of the reef, there are great star corals that have been growing continuously since the Middle Ages. These massive dome-shaped monuments are over 500 years old. Their surfaces a complex tapestry of hundreds of thousands of individual lives. They have stood through centuries of storms, through the rising and falling of empires on land, and through the slow turning of the constellations above. They are the ancient ones of the sea, embodiments of pure, unwavering persistence. To look upon such a coral is to look upon time itself made manifest in stone. A reminder that the most beautiful things in this world are built not with speed, but with the steady, quiet accumulation of 1,000 years of peace. Finally, as we drift toward the outer edges of the coral metropolis, we encounter the reef's most humble yet heroic role, the silent shield. The massive solid structure of the reef acts as a natural breakwater, absorbing up to 97% of the energy from the heavy, crashing waves of the open ocean. Without the reef, the tropical coastlines would be relentlessly eroded by the sea. The coral stands as a quiet, unyielding barrier, sacrificing its own stone to protect the soft, sandy shores and the quiet lagoons behind it. It creates a space of calm, protected water where life can flourish without the constant thrash of the surf. It is the ultimate protector, a silent guardian that stands between the chaos of the storm and the peace of the shore. And as this final thought of protection and peace settles over you, you can feel your own bed becoming that same unyielding shield. You're safe in your quiet lagoon. The storms of the world are breaking far away, their energy absorbed by the deep ancient stone of your rest. You are completely protected. You are completely at ease. You are ready now to cross over into the deep, dark blue of sleep, drifting, dreaming, and perfectly still. The silent shield of the outer reef, absorbing the heavy, thundering energy of the open ocean, creates a hidden world of profound, almost surreal stillness just behind the breakers. As we drift away from the crashing foam and the turbulent white water of the crest, we enter the back reef lagoon, a shallow, sun-warmed expanse of liquid turquoise that feels more like a dream than a reality. Here, the water is so clear it seems to vanish entirely, leaving the colourful coral heads to appear as if they are floating in the bright tropical air. The floor of this quiet hinterland is covered in soft, rippling meadows of white carbonate sand, where the light plays in endless dancing patterns. In this protected nursery, time has no meaning. The heavy currents of the deep sea are reduced to a gentle rhythmic sigh, a soft movement that barely brushes against the delicate branching corals that thrive in the calm. It is the reef's private garden, a space of absolute sun-drenched sanctuary where the smallest and most fragile lives can grow in perfect, undisturbed peace. While the light dances effortlessly across the sandy floor of the lagoon, it finds a specialized living mirror within the massive scalloped shells of the giant clams resting in the shallows. We have seen the brilliant iridescent colors of their mantles, but the secret of this glow lies deep within their very cells. Scattered throughout the clam's soft, fleshy tissue are millions of microscopic, specialized light-scattering cells called iridocytes. These tiny biological crystals do not merely reflect the sun. They are masterfully designed to funnel and distribute the sunlight deep into the clam's body. They act as microscopic fiber optic cables, ensuring that the light-hungry algae living in the deep layers of the tissue receive exactly the right amount of energy to flourish. The clam is a living solar collector, a masterpiece of optical engineering that turns the harsh, glaring rays of the tropical sun into a soft, diffused glow that sustains its entire existence in total, radiant silence. And as this knowledge of light and internal glow settles, your breathing slows. You can feel a soft, warm light of your own beginning to glow within your mind. Just as the clam funnels the sun, you're funneling a deep, comforting warmth into every fibre of your being. You're radiant. You're perfectly still. You're sinking deeper into the soft, supporting blue. While the light is being channeled deep into the heart of the living clam, it also illuminates a gentle, never-ending rain that falls through the water column like a slow-motion snowfall. This is marine snow. A continuous cascading drift of organic particles, microscopic shells, and the soft remains of the world above. In the quiet, sun-dappled space of the reef, this falling mist is a vital, life-giving connection between the sunlit surface and the dark, stony depths. Every flake of this liquid snow carries nutrients and energy, caught by the millions of reaching tentacles of the coral polyps. It is a slow, rhythmic feeding that requires no effort, no chase, and no struggle. The reef simply opens its arms to the falling bounty, trusting in the endless, generous cycle of the sea to provide. It is a reminder that the most profound nourishment often comes from simply remaining still and open to the quiet gifts that fall naturally into our lives. This ancient falling rain of the sea carries within it the chemical signatures of the distant past, which the coral polyps then painstakingly record in their own limestone skeletons. Every molecule of calcium and every atom of oxygen pulled from the water acts as a tiny, indelible timestamp. Within the solid, unyielding stone of a massive coral head lies an atomic diary of the ocean's history. By studying the specific isotopes of oxygen locked in these ancient layers, we can read the temperature of the sea from hundreds of years ago. We can see the signatures of ancient monsoon seasons, the fluctuations of the sun's energy, and the slow, heavy breathing of the planet's climate over the centuries. The coral is the Earth's most patient historian, holding the secrets of the world's ancient waters safely within its stony heart, a testament to the enduring power of memory and the quiet accumulation of time. Echoing this deep, stony memory of the past is a world of vibrant, nocturnal bloom that only awakens when the diary of the sun is closed for the day. While most corals rely on the light-harvesting algae within their tissues, the tubostria, or sun corals, have chosen a life of absolute independent darkness. During the day, they appear as dull, unremarkable orange lumps on the shaded undersides of ledges and caves. But as the heavy blue of the night settles over the reef, they undergo a magnificent, fiery transformation. Hundreds of brilliant, translucent orange tentacles burst forth from the stone, resembling a field of glowing underwater sunflowers. Lacking the internal garden of algae, they must hunt for their energy in the dark, sweeping the water for the rich nightly plankton migration. They are the fires of the night reef, glowing with a fierce, independent beauty that proves life can thrive and flourish even in the deepest, most lightless shadows. The sudden, fiery bloom of the night-dwelling corals leads us back to the soft, sandy borders of the lagoon, where the most intimate and tactile connection on the reef continues its watchful vigil. We have seen the partnership between the blind shrimp and the watchful goby, but the true depth of their bond lies in the language of a single flickering fin. As the shrimp works tirelessly in the dark of its burrow, its long, delicate antenna is never more than a fraction of a millimetre away from the goby's tail. This is not just a casual touch, it is a direct neurological link between two entirely different worlds. A single, subtle quiver of the goby's fin, too fast for the human eye to see, communicates a world of meaning. It tells the shrimp of a passing shadow, the shift of the tide, or the approach of a friend. It is a life lived in a state of constant, gentle physical contact, a profound sensory bridge that turns two individuals into a single, perfectly coordinated unit of survival and peace. Notice how your own body feels that same sense of gentle, supportive contact. You're resting against your bed, perfectly held and supported. Every point of contact is a signal of safety, a message to your mind that you are protected and secure. You can let go of the vigil. You can sink into the deep, dark burrow of sleep, entirely safe, entirely at peace. The profound, tactile silence of the shrimp and the goby is not mirrored by the rest of the reef, which is filled with a constant crackling music that is vital for the survival of the next generation. For decades, we believed the ocean was a silent world, but we now know it is a bustling acoustic tapestry. This song of the reef, the snapping, popping and grunting of millions of creatures, acts as a biological lighthouse. For a tiny, microscopic coral larva drifting miles out in the vast, featureless open ocean, this sound is the only map they have. They possess no eyes to see the reef, but they can hear the crackling of the snapping shrimp and the low hum of the fish. They use these acoustic vibrations to steer their tiny hair-covered bodies toward the sound of home. The reef is constantly broadcasting its presence to the wandering souls of the sea, a vibrant, noisy call to settle, to grow, and to join the ancient living city. This acoustic lighthouse, while calling the new generation home, also serves as a specialized liquid burglar alarm for the residents of the deep. In the dark, velvety spaces of the night reef, many creatures use a sudden flash of bioluminescent light as a clever decoy. When a tiny glowing ostracod, a microscopic crustacean, is swallowed by a larger fish, it doesn't simply give up. It releases a sudden, brilliant burst of blue chemical light inside the predator's mouth. This creates a burglar alarm effect, lighting up the predator like a neon sign in the dark water and making it vulnerable to even larger hunters. Startled and confused, the fish will often spit the tiny glowing creature back out into the safety of the dark. It is a mastery of light and distraction, a way of turning this moment of extreme danger into a sudden glowing chance for escape and quiet survival. The texture of this ancient glowing defense leads us deep into the very foundations of the reef's history, to a time before the first coral polyps ever existed. Long before the limestone castles were built, the ghost reefs of the prehistoric world were made entirely of ancient sea sponges. Thousands of years ago, in the cold, deep waters of the glass sea, sponges built massive, towering structures that spanned entire ocean basins. These ancestors of the modern reef were made of silica, the same substance as glass, weaving intricate, translucent skeletons that were as strong as stone and as delicate as lace. While the modern coral reef thrives on light and warmth, these ancient sponge reefs lived in the cold, silent dark, slowly filtering the prehistoric seas. They are the silent grandfathers of the coral city, the original architects who proved that life could build mountains from the very minerals of the water. And as this knowledge of ancient glassy foundations settles, your breathing slows. You can feel the vast prehistoric depth of your own history. Your rest is built on ancient foundations, reaching back through thousands of years of quiet, steady peace. You're connected to the very beginning of time, sinking back into the eternal, silent dark. While the ancient sponges represent the foundations of the past, the modern coral reef serves as the world's most vibrant, high-speed genetic laboratory. Because life on the reef is so dense and the competition for every square inch of stone is so intense, evolution here happens at a pace found nowhere else on Earth. The reef is a cradle of evolution, a place where new species are born, where specialized relationships are forged, and where the limits of biological possibility are constantly pushed. High mutation rates and the constant mixing of genetic material during mass spawning events create an explosion of diversity. Every hidden crevice, every swaying fan, and every grain of sand is a testbed for a new way of living, a new way of hiding, or a new way of cooperating. The reef is never truly finished. It is a work in progress, a masterpiece that is constantly rewriting itself in a state of perfect, vibrant, and incredibly slow-moving change. Finally, as we drift over the final, quiet borders of this living laboratory, we encounter the reef's most profound, silent gift to the deep, the biological pump. As the countless residents of the reef live, feed, and pass away, they release a constant stream of organic matter that sinks slowly away from the sunlit shallows and down into the vast, dark abyss of the deep sea. The reef acts as a massive liquid heart, pumping the energy of the sun down into the lightless world miles below the surface. It is the great provider, the source of life for creatures that will never see the sky. The reef is a bridge between the world of light and the world of eternal night, a glowing oasis that sustains the entire ocean through a quiet, continuous act of giving. And as this final thought of giving and connection washes over you, you can feel your own energy sinking down into a deep, dark, and perfectly peaceful abyss of sleep. You have given enough to the day. You're now the recipient of the ocean's quiet rest. You're sinking. You're floating. You're home in the deep, ancient silence. This silent, liquid act of giving, this continuous pumping of life from the sun-drenched surface down into the velvet dark, creates a profound, invisible bridge of energy. As we drift further along the outer edge of this limestone empire, the water begins to shimmer with a peculiar, almost metallic quality. This is the realm of the ocean's mirror, a place where the surface above reflects the vibrant life below in a perfect, unbroken symmetry. Gliding through this mirrored blue is the silver sweeper, a fish that seems forged from liquid mercury. They congregate in the deep, shaded cathedrals of underwater caves, their bodies compressed into thin, elegant blades that catch the faintest stray rays of light. When they move in unison, they create a swirling internal aurora of silver and chrome, a hypnotic display of fluid geometry. They are the light bearers of the shadows, turning the dim, forgotten corners of the reef into chambers of shimmering, reflective peace. The texture of this shimmering metallic light leads us to the very edge of the reef's physical reach, where the solid stone gives way to a mysterious, undulating landscape of soft, bulbous forms. These are the mushroom corals, unique wanderers that have chosen a life of quiet, unattached freedom. Unlike their cousins who are cemented forever to the reef, a young mushroom coral eventually detaches from its limestone base. It becomes a solitary, mobile disc, resting loosely upon the sandy floor or tucked within a gentle crevice. It can even move itself, ever so slowly, by pulsing its soft, fleshy mantle or inflating its body with water to ride the gentle surge. It is a creature that has learned the beauty of the unattached life, proving that one can be a part of the great city while still maintaining a quiet, independent soul, drifting wherever the ocean's breath decides to carry it. And as this knowledge of freedom and movement settles, your breathing slows. You can feel yourself detaching from the heavy anchors of the day. Like the solitary coral, you're becoming light. You're becoming mobile in your dreams, free to drift on the gentle currents of your imagination, sinking deeper into the soft, velvet blue. This sense of quiet, independent movement is echoed by the most flamboyant and eccentric traveller of the reef's sandy borders. Walking with a deliberate rhythmic waltz across the white dunes is the flamboyant cuttlefish. It is a creature that has largely abandoned the art of swimming in favour of a slow, stately stroll. Using its lower tentacles like specialised colourful legs, it marches across the sand in a continuous display of shifting electric patterns. Its skin pulses with waves of deep magenta, bright canary yellow, and dark chocolate brown, a visual symphony that serves as a bold warning to the world. It is a master of the slow-motion parade, a creature that moves with such confidence and saturated beauty that it makes the very act of walking through the deep feel like a sacred, colourful ritual of peace. The pulsing rhythmic colours of the cuttlefish lead our gaze toward the most intricate and delicate biological lace ever woven by the hand of the sea. Swaying in the deeper, cooler currents are the bryozoans, often called moss animals. They are not plants, nor are they a single animal, but massive sprawling colonies of microscopic individuals called zooids. Each zooid lives in a tiny calcified box, and together they build structures that resemble delicate translucent fans, branching trees, or intricate stony doilies. Their skeletons are made of a fragile glass-like calcium, creating a lacy, porous architecture that provides a hidden, microscopic universe for the smallest creatures of the reef. They are the weavers of the deep, turning the invisible minerals of the water into a vast, silent network of crystalline lace that breathes with 1,000 tiny hidden mouths. Echoing this intricate, lacy architecture is a world of incredible, specialised geometry hidden within the very eyes of the reef's most observant residents. The mantis shrimp, a creature of startling colour and prehistoric form, possesses the most complex visual system ever discovered in the natural world. While human eyes see the world through 3 types of colour-sensing cells, the mantis shrimp sees through 16. It can perceive ultraviolet light, infrared light, and the swirling patterns of polarised light that are invisible to us. Its eyes move independently, scanning the water in a rhythmic mechanical dance, seeing a world of colours and energies that we can only imagine. It lives in a reality of absolute, vibrant clarity, a master of perception that reminds us that the world is far more colourful and mysterious than our limited senses can ever truly know. Notice how your own perception is beginning to shift, turning inward, away from the limited light of the waking world. You're opening your inner eyes to a world of soft, dreamlike colours, a reality of deep, peaceful vibrations. You're seeing the world through the quiet, multicoloured lens of your own rest, drifting further into the luminous dark. While the mantis shrimp scans the water with high-tech biological precision, the very water it observes is being continuously sculpted by the reef's most unassuming yet powerful force, the tides. Twice every day, the massive invisible gravitational pull of the moon reaches down into the ocean, dragging the heavy, salty water across the coral platforms. This is the breath of the world, a slow, rhythmic flooding and receding that brings fresh, oxygen-rich water from the open sea and carries away the heat of the day. The reef exists in a state of eternal liquid pulsation. When the tide comes in, the corals reach out. When it goes out, they huddle together in a state of patient, moist waiting. It is a reminder that all life is tied to the celestial dance of the stars and the moon, a rhythmic, inevitable cycle of coming and going that ensures the reef is always being renewed and always being cleansed. The texture of this celestial rhythmic cleansing leads us to the most remarkable, and perhaps most touching, display of parental care found in the entire ocean. Deep within the protected rocky caves of the reef, the male Banggai cardinalfish performs a quiet, heroic vigil. When the eggs are laid, he takes them all into his own mouth, holding them safely within his protective silver jaws for weeks. During this entire time, he does not eat. He barely moves, his only purpose being to gently tumble the eggs to ensure they receive enough oxygen. He is the living incubator of the deep, a silent guardian who carries the future within himself. It is a testament to the profound power of sacrifice and the quiet, fierce love that sustains the next generation in the heart of the wild, unyielding sea. This theme of internal hidden protection finds a chemical parallel in the reef's most potent and mysterious defense, the world of tetrodotoxin. Within the soft, slow-moving bodies of the pufferfish and the boxfish lies a chemical secret that is over 1,000 times more powerful than the harshest toxins on land. They do not have sharp teeth or lightning speed. They have the absolute, quiet confidence of a chemical shield. When threatened, the pufferfish gulps in water, transforming its body into a large, spiky and unswallowable sphere. But its true defense is internal, a molecule so complex it can shut down the nervous system of any predator. It is a passive power, a way of existing in a world of giants by being fundamentally chemically untouchable, a silent warning that peace is often protected by the most invisible and potent of boundaries. And as this knowledge of internal protection settles, your breathing slows. You can feel your own internal defences growing strong and quiet. You're untouchable in your rest. The worries of the world are like small fish that cannot reach the core of your peace. You are a sphere of total, unswallowable calm, sinking deeper into the heavy, supportive water. The silent chemical shield of the pufferfish is mirrored by a physical structural mastery found in the most ancient of all reef residents, the sea turtles. We have seen their long magnetic journeys, but the secret to their survival through millions of years lies in the very structure of their bones. Unlike the rigid, brittle bones of land animals, a sea turtle's skeleton is designed for the immense, crushing pressures of the deep. Their ribs are fused into their shell, but the shell itself is not a solid, dead stone. It is a living, growing part of their body, covered in sensitive, keratin-rich scales called scutes. These scutes grow in a rhythmic, annual pattern, recording the health and the travels of the turtle much like the rings of a coral. The turtle is a living, breathing fortress that has mastered the art of carrying its home wherever it goes, a wanderer that is never truly lost because its sanctuary is a part of its very being. Finally, as we drift over the final quiet dunes of this batch, we encounter the reef's most profound, silent interaction with the light of the moon. On the nights of the mass coral spawning, the entire ocean is filled with a chemical signal that triggers a secondary, magical event, the rising of the pololo worms. Deep within the cracks of the reef, these segmented worms release their tail sections, filled with reproductive cells, to float upward toward the moonlight. These segments possess their own eye spots that sense the light, allowing them to swim in a swirling vertical dance toward the surface. It is a moment where the very stones of the reef seem to give birth to the stars, a synchronized explosion of life that reminds us that everything in the ocean, from the largest whale to the smallest worm, is connected to the same ancient lunar heartbeat that governs the tides and the dreams of the world. And as this final thought of the lunar heartbeat washes over you, you can feel your own heart slowing to match that same ancient rhythm. The moon is high, the tide is full, and the reef is quiet. You're now a part of that swirling vertical dance, rising toward the light of your dreams, drifting, weightless, and perfectly at peace. The rhythmic, inevitable cycle of coming and going that cleanses the reef also connects the stone cathedrals of the deep to the very atmosphere of our planet in a way that is profoundly, almost cosmically, beautiful. As the tropical sun warms the shallow turquoise waters, the corals release a microscopic sulfurous gas known as dimethylsulfoniopropanate, or DMSP. This invisible vapour rises from the sea, drifting upward through the humid air until it reaches the sky. There, it undergoes a magical transformation, acting as a seed for cloud formation. The very reefs themselves are quiet, unintended architects of the weather, creating their own white, billowing canopies to shade the water below from the intense heat. It is a feedback loop of perfect atmospheric grace, a living city that reaches into the heavens to weave a blanket of cooling shadow for its own protection, ensuring that the light remains a source of life rather than a source of stress. The texture of this invisible ascending vapour leads us to the microscopic, silent chemical work occurring deep within the reef's nutrient-poor waters. In an ocean that often resembles a blue desert, the reef flourishes through the quiet miracle of nitrogen fixation. Small emerald-green patches of cyanobacteria, woven into the very fabric of the coral rubble and the sandy floor, possess the ancient power to pull nitrogen gas directly from the water and turn it into the essential building blocks of life. They are the invisible gardeners of the sea, turning the void into a fertile, thriving oasis. Without these microscopic alchemists working in total, unhurried silence, the vibrant metropolis of the reef would simply vanish into the barren blue. It is a reminder that the greatest empires are built on the foundations of the smallest, most quiet efforts, constant, invisible, and deeply sustaining. And as this knowledge of hidden foundations settles, your breathing slows. You can feel the quiet, invisible work of your own body, sustaining you, healing you. While you simply rest, you're a fertile oasis of calm. Every cell is performing its ancient, silent duty to bring you into a state of perfect restorative balance, drifting deeper into the liquid dark. While the microscopic bacteria build the chemical foundations of the reef, other creatures use the very substance of the water to create masterful, vanishing illusions. Moving through the midnight blue shadows of the reef wall is the bobtail squid, a creature no larger than a thumb, yet possessing a luminous secret of profound sophistication. To hide its silhouette from predators lurking below, it has formed a partnership with glowing, bioluminescent bacteria housed in a specialized light organ. But when threatened, it does not just glow, it exhales a cloud of bioluminescent ink. It leaves behind a ghostly glowing decoy, a shimmering phantom of itself, suspended in the water while the squid itself turns jet black and vanishes into the darkness. It is a mastery of misdirection, a quiet disappearing act that turns light into a shield, proving that in the deep the best way to remain safe is to leave a beautiful dream behind. The ghostly, glowing decoy of the squid leads us away from the shifting light and back into the heavy, unmoving record of deep time. When scientists take core samples from the base of ancient reefs, they are effectively pulling out a vertical library of the Earth's physical journey. These cores reveal layers of volcanic ash from eruptions that occurred thousands of miles away and thousands of years ago. They hold the chemical fingerprints of the very first industrial age on land and the cooling of the planet during the Great Ice Ages. The reef is a stony witness that has forgotten nothing. It stands as a vertical timeline of our world, growing millimetre by millimetre, century by century, holding the story of the entire planet within its solid, calcified layers, a monument to the endurance of life through every change the heavens can offer. Echoing this endurance, but moving with a sudden, violent physics that defies the liquid drag of the sea, is the striking power of the peacock mantis shrimp. While its eyes see the colours of the universe, its limbs possess the power of a thunderbolt. When it strikes at a hard-shelled snail, its club-like appendages move with the acceleration of a .22 caliber bullet. This movement is so fast that it creates a phenomenon known as cavitation. The water itself literally boils and collapses, creating a secondary shockwave and a tiny flash of light called sonoluminescence. Even if the shrimp misses its target, the collapse of the water itself is enough to stun the prey. It is a mastery of the very elements. a reminder that within the most peaceful, slow-moving landscapes, there exists a hidden, concentrated energy that can bend the laws of physics in the service of a quiet, methodical life. Notice how your own mind holds a similar quiet power, an energy that is now turning inward, focusing on the profound task of rest. You're not moving, you're not striking. You're simply holding that power in a state of absolute peaceful potential. You're the stillness at the center of the storm, weightless and incredibly strong. The sudden, boiling energy of the mantis shrimp is beautifully contrasted by the long, gliding and completely effortless journeys of the reef's many hitchhikers. Attached firmly to the sleek grey underbelly of a passing shark or the broad, flat shell of a sea turtle is the remora, the sucker fish of the deep. It possesses a specialised oval-shaped sucking disc on the top of its head, a magnificent evolution of its dorsal fin. By pressing this disc against its host and creating a vacuum, the remora hitches a free ride across the vast blue expanse. It does not fight the current. It does not struggle to swim. It simply yields its path to a larger power, trusting in its host to carry it to new, nutrient-rich waters. It is the ultimate practitioner of the effortless journey, a creature that has learned that sometimes the best way to get where you're going is to simply hold on and let the world carry you there. This yielding to a larger power is a sacred rule at the cleaning stations we have visited before, where an invisible queuing system maintains the absolute peace of the sanctuary. When a massive scarred grouper or a sleek barracuda arrives at a cleaning station, it does not rush in. It waits its turn in the blue, hovering with its mouth slightly agape, a universal signal of peaceful intent. The tiny cleaner wrasses move with a rhythmic, fluttering dance that serves as an invitation. If the station is busy, the larger fish will wait with incredible, motionless patience, sometimes for 20 minutes or more, suspended in the current. There is no aggression here, no hierarchy of hunger. The cleaning station is a space where the frantic, survival-driven mind of the predator is completely suspended, replaced by a civilized, quiet etiquette of mutual care and profound, silent waiting. And as this knowledge of waiting and peace settles, your breathing slows. You're in your own cleaning station now. The world is waiting for you. You do not need to rush. You do not need to hunt. You can simply hover in the quiet current of your room, allowing the gentle rhythms of sleep to cleanse your mind and lighten your spirit. You're next in line for the deepest, most beautiful rest, sinking into the soft blue silence. While the fish wait in the sun-dappled shallows, the corals in the deeper twilight zones have mastered a different kind of optical magic to survive the dimming light. We have seen the glowing, fluorescent proteins of the reef, but in the deeper waters these proteins act as light converters. Because only the cold, blue light can penetrate the deep, the corals there use their fluorescence to absorb that blue light and turn it into a warm, orange or red glow. This converted light is then fed to their internal algae, allowing photosynthesis to occur in depths where it should be impossible. They are the alchemists of the spectrum, turning the cold shadows of the abyss into the warm, life-giving colours of the sun. It is a profound mastery of the medium, a way of finding the hidden warmth in the coldest, darkest places of the world. The texture of this light conversion leads us away from the stone walls and into the tangled emerald embrace of the mangroves, the womb of the coral reef. Before the young snappers, barracudas and butterfly fish can survive the intense competition of the reef, they must spend their childhood among the stilt-like roots of the mangrove trees. These coastal forests act as a vital bridge between the land and the sea, their complex roots trapping sediment and providing a dense, labyrinthine sanctuary where the smallest fish can hide from the shadows of the open water. The mangroves filter the runoff from the land, keeping the reef's water crystalline and pure. It is a relationship of deep, generational care. The forest on the shore protecting the city and the sea, ensuring that every new life has the time and the quiet safety it needs to grow strong before facing the vast blue unknown. Finally, as the tide begins its massive rhythmic surge back toward the shore, it creates a tidal bore, a powerful, concentrated rush of water that flushes the entire reef system with fresh, nutrient-rich liquid from the open ocean. This is the great twice-daily rinsing of the city. The water moves through the winding coral canyons and the sandy lagoons, carrying away the debris of the day and bringing in a cool, refreshing breath of the deep. For a few moments, the entire reef vibrates with the energy of the moving water, a powerful, cleansing flow that reaches into every hidden crack and every tiny pore. It is the ocean's way of resetting the clock, of washing away the old and preparing the world for a fresh start under the rising moon. And as this final thought of cleansing and renewal washes over you, you can feel that same powerful tidal bore of sleep moving through your own mind. It is flushing away the clutter of the day, cooling the heat of your thoughts, and leaving your inner landscape perfectly clean, fresh, and still. The tide is high. The roots are safe, and the reef is breathing in total rhythmic harmony. You're ready to drift now, beyond the mangroves, beyond the shore, into the vast, beautiful dark of your dreams. The cleansing surge of the tidal bore, having rinsed the winding canyons and hidden grottos, eventually settles into a state of profound liquid equilibrium. In this quiet aftermath, where the water is perfectly still and the sediment has drifted back to the floor, a hidden architect begins its silent, essential work. While the stony corals build the towering skyscrapers of the reef, the crustose coralline algae serve as the ancient living glue that holds the entire city together. Appearing as vibrant patches of hard, calcified pink, deep magenta, and soft lavender paint splashed across the rocks, this unassuming alga is the reef's most vital stabilizer. It pulls calcium from the seawater and weaves it into a dense, rock-hard crust that cements loose rubble into solid, unyielding foundations. It creates a smooth, inviting surface that releases specific chemical whispers, acting as a welcoming mat for drifting coral larvae. Without this beautiful pink tapestry, the reef would be little more than a pile of loose stones. It is the silent weaver of the seafloor, turning fragmented pieces into a unified, eternal whole. The texture of this hard, vibrant pink paint leads us to the most flamboyant and meticulously patterned resident of the reef's lower levels. Moving with an agonizing, beautiful slowness across the coralline crust is the harlequin shrimp. It is a creature that seems to have been painted by a master of the surreal, its body adorned in large, cream-coloured plates decorated with brilliant glowing spots of electric blue and deep royal purple. It carries its massive, petal-like claws with a strange, stylized grace, resembling a porcelain doll brought to slow, rhythmic life. Despite its startling beauty, it is a creature of absolute, unwavering focus. It moves through the shadows like a silent, colourful ghost, a reminder that the most vivid colours are often hidden in the quietest corners of the world, and that beauty is its own form of quiet, unhurried strength. And as this knowledge of hidden beauty settles, your breathing slows. You can feel the colourful, busy patterns of your own mind beginning to soften and blend together. Just like the harlequin shrimp moving through the shadows, your thoughts are becoming slow, graceful, and entirely peaceful. You're drifting into the quiet corners of your own imagination, sinking deeper into the velvet dark. The slow, methodical movement of the shrimp is mirrored by a continuous, invisible exhalation that nourishes the entire liquid city. We have seen the coral's liquid veil, but this coral mucus is far more than a simple shield. It is a rich, energetic gift known to scientists as the reef's engine. As the corals continuously secrete this clear, slippery substance, it sloughs off into the water, carrying with it a bounty of fats and nutrients. In the nutrient-poor desert of the open tropical sea, this mucus forms the basis of a massive underwater recycling system. It traps tiny particles of food and is then consumed by small fish, crabs, and even the coral polyps themselves. It is a perfect closed loop of self-sustenance, a reminder that nothing is ever truly wasted in the deep. The reef literally feeds itself with its own breath, a quiet, continuous act of self-care that ensures the city thrives in even the most barren of waters. This internal cycle of care is conducted on a scale of time that makes the history of human civilizations seem like a passing shadow. The great branching lineages of the acropora corals, the stags and the elkhorns that dominate the shallow crests, can be traced back in an unbroken line of life for over 50 million years. They have survived the shifting of continents, the rising and falling of the seas, and the long, cold silence of multiple ice ages. Every tiny polyp you see is a carrier of an ancient, resilient code that has mastered the art of survival on a changing planet. The reef is not just a place. It is a successful strategy for life that has been refined over an unimaginable expanse of time, a monument to the quiet power of persistence and the ability of the small to endure through the greatest of geological upheavals. Echoing this ancient, persistent vision is a world of incredible, simplified perception hidden within the mantles of the giant clams. While they possess the glowing, light-funneling cells we've admired, they also possess hundreds of tiny, primitive eyes known as ocelli. These are not complex eyes like ours. They are simple, sensitive pinholes that can detect the slightest change in light and shadow. If the shadow of a passing bird or a large fish falls across the clam, these hundreds of tiny eyes instantly send a signal to the massive muscular hinge. In a single, heavy and rhythmic motion, the clam pulls its soft mantle inside and partially closes its heavy shell. It is a world of simplified binary awareness, light and shadow, safety and danger, a peaceful, unblinking vigil that has protected these giants for millions of years in the sun-drenched shallows. Notice how your own awareness is becoming simple and binary, light and shadow, breathing in and breathing out. You are letting go of the complex details of the day. Your mind is closing its heavy shell to the outside world, pulling inward into a space of total, unblinking safety. You are heavy, you are grounded, you are perfectly at rest. This simplified awareness is even more profound in the swaying sea anemones, which possess a primitive form of cellular memory, despite having no brain at all. Scientists have discovered that if an anemone is gently touched in a specific way, it will remember that sensation for days. If the touch is repeated, the anemone will react faster or more slowly, showing a basic form of learning and adaptation. This memory is stored within the very network of its nerves and muscles, a physical, tactile history of its interactions with the moving water. It is a reminder that the ability to learn and remember is a fundamental property of life itself, a quiet, cellular wisdom that allows even the most stationary and brainless creatures to navigate the shifting currents of their long, peaceful lives. The tactile memory of the anemone leads us to the ultimate master of physical and psychological transformation, the mimic octopus. In the sandy flats bordering the reef, this liquid sage has taken the art of camouflage to a level of profound creative genius. It does not just change its colour to match the sand, it changes its very soul to match the mood of the environment. It can pull its arms together to mimic the shape of a venomous sea snake, or spread them wide and flat to resemble a toxic soulfish. It observes the world with a deep, quiet intelligence, choosing the perfect persona for every moment. It is a creature of pure, fluid possibility, a reminder that we are not fixed or rigid beings, but can flow and adapt to any circumstance with grace, shifting our shape and our thoughts until we find the perfect, most peaceful path through the deep. While the octopus shifts its shape in the shallows, a never-ending silent harvest continues to fall into the deep, dark valleys between the coral peaks. This is the marine snow in its most concentrated form, a vertical bridge of nutrients that connects the sunlit world to the eternal midnight of the abyss. As we have seen, this snow is made of the remains of everything that lives above, but its journey is a slow, rhythmic dance. As it falls, it is colonized by specialized bacteria that breathe the nutrients, turning the falling flakes into rich, protein-packed morsels. It can take weeks for a single flake to reach the deep-sea corals miles below, a journey of immense patience and steady descent. It is the ocean's way of ensuring that even the most remote and lightless corners of the world are never forgotten, a continuous cascading gift from the world of light to the world of shadow. And as this final thought of connection and descent washes over you, you can feel your own thoughts falling like soft, weightless snow. You're descending slowly into the quiet abyss of sleep. Every thought is a soft flake, drifting down through the dark, warm water of your mind. You're the recipient of this endless, peaceful harvest. You're sinking, you're settling, you're home. The journey of the falling snow eventually reaches the hidden, submerged volcanoes that serve as the gargantuan foundations for many of the world's most remote reefs. These are seamounts, massive underwater mountains that rise thousands of feet from the abyssal plain but never quite break the surface. As the deep ocean currents strike these colossal stone walls, they are forced upward, bringing a cold, nutrient-rich surge from the bottom of the world. This is the upwelling, a powerful, silent fountain of life that feeds the corals on the summit. These seamounts are the secret islands of the deep, isolated cathedrals, where life has evolved in total dark solitude for millions of years. They are monuments to the hidden, towering strength that lies beneath the surface, a reminder that the most vibrant life is often supported by massive, unmoving forces that we can never truly see. Finally, we return to the most profound acoustic sanctuary of the reef, hidden deep within the indigo heart of a blue hole. As we have seen, these sinkholes are cathedrals of silence, but they also act as massive natural resonance chambers. The low-frequency hum of the distant open ocean, the song of passing whales, and the rhythmic thrum of the tides are all amplified within these deep vertical wells. If you were to rest at the bottom of a blue hole, you would hear the very heartbeat of the planet, a low, pulsing vibration that resonates through the ancient limestone. It is the deep terrestrial om of the sea, a sound that bypasses the ears and speaks directly to the soul. It is the ultimate lullaby, the sound of the Earth's own rest, a frequency of absolute, eternal peace that invites you to finally, completely let go. And as this final pulsing frequency settles into your heart, your breathing matches its slow, eternal beat. The mountains are supporting you, the snow is covering you, the blue hole is singing to you. You're no longer watching the reef, you are the reef. You are the stone, you are the water, you are the infinite, peaceful dark. Good night, traveller of the deep, sleep now in the heart of the ancient stone. As the pulsing, eternal heartbeat of the blue hole resonates through the ancient stone, it carries us to the final, most profound secret of the sea, a truth that transcends the boundary between the individual and the infinite. This is the mystery of the holobiont. In the waking world, we often see ourselves as separate, solitary beings, but the coral reef has known a different truth for millions of years. A single coral head is not merely an animal, nor is it simply a plant or a collection of bacteria. It is an inseparable, unified consciousness where thousands of different species merge their identities to become one single, thriving entity. Within the tissue of the polyp, the microscopic algae, and the invisible microbiome, there is no self. There is only the shared breath of the collective. This beautiful biological unity allows a reef to achieve a form of practical immortality. While individual polyps may pass away in the quiet rhythm of the seasons, the genetic code of the colony itself can persist for tens of thousands, even millions of years, continuously renewing itself, cell by cell, stone by stone. You're looking at a creature that has effectively conquered time by choosing to live for the whole. It is the Earth's most successful dream of togetherness, a masterpiece of cooperation that proves that when we let go of our boundaries and merge with the vast supportive currents of life, we become something eternal, something unbreakable, and something profoundly at peace. This is the 101st wonder, that you are never truly alone in the deep, for you are part of a living, breathing miracle that has been dreaming itself into existence since the very dawn of the world. And as this final, beautiful truth settles into the deepest layers of your mind, the water around you becomes impossibly still. The final ripples of the tide have smoothed into a perfect dark mirror, reflecting only the soft, distant stars of the liquid cosmos. The heavy, colourful city of the reef is now fully asleep. The polyps have retracted into their stony cradles. The sea fans have finished their nightly dance, and the ancient sponges are breathing with a slow, undetectable rhythm. Your subconscious mind is now a vast, quiet library, where each of the 101 truths we have explored has found its own soft velvet shelf. You do not need to remember them with your waking thoughts. They are woven into the very fabric of your rest. They are the minerals that strengthen your peace. They are the currents that carry your dreams. You are weightless now. As light as a single grain of star-shaped sand, drifting through a sea of absolute unconditional safety. The pressure of the world is gone, replaced by the warm, salt-scented embrace of the infinite blue. Every muscle has dissolved into the water. Every thought has turned into a soft, glowing spark of bioluminescence, fading slowly into the deep, dark quiet. The reef is holding you, the ocean is breathing for you, and the time for wandering has come to an end. You have returned to the source, to the ancient, silent heart of the world. Everything is balanced, everything is pure, everything is still. And now, 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now. Good night.